I guess we come around to the contract situation, David. And, again, I was sitting there thinking, if Trent's looking at this and seeing another performance and seeing Anfield really do what we know it does on the big games, the big occasions, again, I just can't see a world where it makes any sense for him to think he needs to depart. So do we know anything on those conversations? And I know you're under the gun here, but I don't know. I'm talking myself into being convinced that it's going in the right direction here, because I look at it and I genuinely just think, what more would he want? We've just beaten Madrid comfortably. Bellingham and Mbappe should be ashamed of themselves for the performance they put in. And Trent's got surely everything he needs to challenge it. And most importantly, cement the legacy that he spoke about, trophies. You can see we're going to challenge. So I'm hoping, David, that, he realizes around this time he just can't. He just can't leave.
Well, this is it. I just think, he said himself, didn't he, that his main motivation would be, can I win things? Can we keep, challenging at the top? And I don't think Arne Slot could have done much more in his first sort of 3 or 4 months to convince Liverpool supporters, Liverpool players, anyone around the place that he's a guy who's going to lead this club to trophies. I mean, there's a very good chance already, and we're only in late November, that Liverpool, they look big favourites the favourites for both competitions, by the way, now. So favourites to Champions League, favourites to win the Premier League, and big
But has Gary
favourites.
Neville made his favourites yet, David? That's the big
Well, yeah,
question.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he would be lifting the trophy, and he wouldn't be quite certain about that yet. So it's just, and the thing is with Slot as well is that, there's more improvement to come. That's the mad thing. He hasn't had that much time to work with them. He's signed one player who we've barely seen really, and so it's clear that if he gets his own players in certain positions, squad doesn't need much, but maybe a few tweaks that he'll want to make. Gets even more time with them training, they're going to be even better. So you'd like to think that Trent's looking at that. He's looking at the way that Real Madrid have kind of ruined themselves by signing another Galactico, and how kind of unbalanced they look this season. And he must be thinking, if I want to be at the club that looks like it's guaranteed to challenge for European Cups every year, and looks like it's going to be a threat in the biggest league in the world, surely just stay with Liverpool. And obviously the key point there is that both sides have got to come to an agreement on what that looks like, and wages and whatnot. But I agree. It's got to give people confidence that this will get done. In that, in terms of staying at Liverpool, that shouldn't be very hard at the moment, because it just looks an unbelievable place to be, to potentially win trophies, but also to improve as a player as well, because that is something we've seen from Arne Slot. I think basically everyone across the squad has improved on what they were showing last season already, which is pretty remarkable and shows how good he is as a coach.
So Anfield Watch put what they classed as an exclusive earlier on to say the Virgil van Dijk is staying and the new contract imminent. Again, have you heard similar? Again, I'm not going to push you to say if it's signed or anything, but have you heard any positive updates around Virgil or murmurings around it?
The one thing I would say around Virgil is I've never been given any discouragement whatsoever on that one, in terms of, I just feel that is, I think we've had that down as kind of the simplest one to do for a while, in terms of what he wants, what Liverpool want, his willingness to stay. Wages are not kind of crazy like they are with the other two. So it's just a more straightforward one, and he's the captain. So for me, I can't personally confirm or deny that story, but it wouldn't be a massive surprise to me if there was something behind that, because I just think this one's been kind of edging towards it, a resolution, and I really wouldn't be shocked if that was the first one that was announced out of all the three, if of course they get all three done.
So one Mohamed Salah, Melissa Reddy had an interesting piece she put up, or series of pieces she put up on this, and I never realised that Rami Abbas had said that last contract that he sorted out with Liverpool for Mo was the most difficult thing he's ever done in his life, because of the complexity of image rights and structure of bonuses. And it really did just bring it home to me once again what you've been saying all along about quite how complex somebody at that level and everything that comes along with that is. It's not a case of let's sit down, have a cup of coffee and shake hands. I'm starting to have some more sympathy for you now, David, in this situation with me pestering you, because it does sound like it is a very, very, very complex negotiation.
Well, this is it. Like, I think people kind of think it's just a case of, okay, I want 300 grand a week over 3 years, and that is basically the extent of negotiation. But as you say, all the kind of the image rights and the legalities of it all, and exactly how that plays out, what you can expect if you were to trigger X, Y, Z bonuses, exactly how they will be triggered. All the, it's kind of, because players and their representatives want to get themselves in a position as well where they've got the highest guaranteed figure they can get, and it's back and forth about exactly what that looks like, what the ceiling is on it, and how much Liverpool can cap that at. So it's incredibly complex, and that's why they take time. So it's not just we do kind of sit back sometimes and be like, well, it's been going on since kind of October or September. Why hasn't it sealed now? But they are complex, as you're saying. It takes time. So that's why I don't think the delay is anything to kind of worry about at the moment, because it is ironing out these details does take time. But like I've always said, if they can get one of those over the line soon, that would feel like a huge boost. And with the Virgil one, I wouldn't, like I say, wouldn't kind of treat that report with any huge skepticism, because I just think that would not surprise me at all if there was truth in that.
So another thing around the Mohamed Salah situation that seems to become apparent with whomever you read a piece from is his family are very settled. He's clearly enjoying his football. He knows what he has with the fan base, with the iconic status he has at Liverpool. Obviously, the Premier League goal scoring charts are there for him to try and climb up as well. And then you ask David, where else is he going to go? Because it's not going to be a money thing at this point. It's not going to be, I want Saudi because I want the money. Not Madrid, really, not really Barca. And again, like Trent, like I said, he probably will feel like he can achieve what he wants to hear, and maybe a little Ballon d'Or show for next season. So there is certainly a lot in the. If you're Liverpool, if you're Richard Hughes sitting there to negotiate this, there's a lot to say. He is happy here. He doesn't want to uproot his kids and take them away. And one last thing on this, actually, I want to get your thoughts on Johnny Heidinger's agent saying that Richard Hughes was very robotic or lacked empathy, which is. It's a harsh comment to say about somebody, but I guess he did negotiate with him, so he'd certainly be closer to him than I would.
Yeah, so on Salah, as you say, I agree. Kind of his options are quite limited, really, and I doubt he wants to go to PSG as an example. Firstly, they don't really sign that sort of profile of player anymore, but also, to go and play in that kind of lesser league at this point, probably not going to challenge for the Champions League because there are shambles in Europe. It surely can't appeal, and then you look around at the other big clubs. You just can't see how he kind of fits in there. So his big option really outside of Liverpool is Saudi Arabia, and there's absolutely no chance he wants to go there yet. So, that strengthens Liverpool's hand, as does the fact he's clearly desperate to stay as well. So again, it just makes me confident there will be that compromise. I don't think Mo's going to throw his toys out the pram and say, "Oh, well, if you don't give me X, Y, and Z, I'm going to have to go." I don't think it's going to get to that point. So. I think these are reasons for Liverpool fans to be positive. And in terms of the Richard Hughes stuff, I read those comments, quite interesting. Kind of talked to someone down at the training ground the other day about them as well. And the joke was, well, is that kind of how you want your sporting director to be? Kind of a bit ruthless and a bit robotic and kind of, reliant on the numbers rather than the, and also from personal experience as well, I've met Richard Hughes, and it doesn't really chime with what I felt when I met him, to be honest. I thought he was very, very personable and seemed like he seemed like a nice guy to me. Kind of, not someone who I thought had those huge personality defects. Obviously, I guess maybe you'd see slightly more of that side of him if he's in a negotiation and it is a little bit back and forth, and you've got to be confrontational. And so maybe Robbie Hansen didn't feel like he got the best deal in that situation, and he was being kind of put up against the wall a bit. But that's what you want from your sporting director. You want them to be the kind of good mix, really, between, yes, being able to have good interpersonal relationships with players and the representatives, but when it's necessary, they have to be a bit ruthless and they have to defend Liverpool's interests above anything else. And so, I kind of took those with a pinch of salt, really, those quotes. But it was, pretty funny to read that.
I'm going to compare that to the atmosphere thing and say it's a lot easier to get up for a Mohamed Salah negotiation and be a bit more personable than perhaps a coaching backroom staff of Johnny Heidinger. I mean, we got to think about it like that as well. He probably didn't bring the A game for that one.